All right, welcome back to State of the Nation. Well, we're so happy to welcome our next guest to the program. Let me just give you a little backstory here because this dovetails very nicely into what we were just talking about with the open border. Madeline Brame, her son, Hassan Correa, 35-year-old father of three, Army veteran, he was assaulted by a group of people that he did not know, had nothing to do with him. Well, they turned around and they stabbed him to death right outside an apartment building in New York. Now, Madeline could have done, and I'm sure she did. She grieved that for a long time with the whole Brame family. But then she turned around and did something good with it. She's a national crime victim rights advocate, CEO of Rescue Angel. She's also a Project 21 ambassador, and she's a returning guest to State of the Nation. And we welcome her to the show now. Hello, Madeline Brame. Welcome to the show. How are you? It's lovely to see you.
I'm well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you as always. And I know, as I said, you and your family went through a real tragedy. And the fact that you decided to become an advocate and try and turn things around so it doesn't happen to anyone else is just testament to who you are as a person. Now, you must be just beside yourself with what's going on as crime continues to skyrocket in New York City. Soft on crime policies continue to be the edict of the day for many of these DAs across the country, Soros funded mostly. But there you are. Have you seen any positive signs from your perspective on fighting for victims' rights? Because we just saw what happened to the two cops outside of in Times Square a couple of weeks ago. Then the girl dragged by the moped. I mean, it's really gotten out of hand, huh?
Well, it's unfortunate. There are no provisions in place for victims, none. We have a something called the New York State Victims Bill of Rights, where it's maybe a one pager with maybe six or seven bullet points of rights that victims have. It's getting 100% worse than what it was 5 years ago. I've never seen anything like it. There's no prosecution. There's no arrest being made. They brag about the rate going down, the crime rate's going down. Well, the reason why they're going down is because they're not making arrests. And if they are making arrests, they're downgrading the charges from felonies to misdemeanors. They're downgrading them from violent felonies to non-violent felonies. So that's the only reason why the crime rates are going down. DAs are not prosecuting, especially Alvin Bragg. He's like the worst. It came out today in the paper that the Republicans in Albany are calling for her to recall him, right? So I don't know how far they're going to get with that. I hope that they gain some type of headway with that. But she did come out and she did say the other day that these individuals who assaulted the police officers the other day, that they need to be brought to justice. They should be in jail. Well, fine for her to say that when they have fled the state and no one can find them. They just kind of, they probably went back to their country. So they're going to get away with that. So people are just getting away with all kinds of stuff here. All kinds of stuff. There are no consequences. No one is being held accountable. And the people of New York City, I work in Midtown Manhattan, right here on 34th Street by Macy's in Howard Square. So at quitting time around 5:30, everybody's rushing to get to the trains, and everybody, their head is just on swivel. If you hear any loud noises, if you hear any fast movements, people are like, really, really, really
Jeez.
Yeah, you got this moped crime going on where the Venezuelans now are riding by on these mopeds and snatching people's cell phones, snatching pocketbooks, drag the woman. What was it? About 2-3 days ago. From what I understand, she has a terrible head injury because of that. She hit her head against one of the steel bike racks, right? So It's like, and who's being held accountable for this stuff? Then they downplay it. The media very rarely covers it. You might hear the stuff on Fox. You never hear it on like ABC or Pix 11 or any of those, mainstream media outlets. They completely ignore it and trying to act like it's not happening. And it's so disingenuous. It's so disingenuous. And it does, the people of New York, the hardworking taxpayers, it does us a grave disservice and injustice.
Yeah, it's gotten really bad, and I'm glad you point out that absolute dissonance causing thing where it's like, oh, crime rates are going down. Yeah, that's because you stopped charging felonies, and pretty much everybody can see that without, having to
Mhm,
look very hard. Now,
mhm,
I'm going to read this quote from a recent post on your X.com former Twitter account here, and then we're going to
mhm,
take a brief headline. And when we come back, I want to
mhm.
get you to expand on what you wrote in this post here.
Okay.
Said, people worrying about words and hurting someone's feelings while the Mexican drug cartels are taking over our cities, not to mention the Venezuelan robbery and child sex trafficking crews. Our country has always been reasonably protected and secured from this type of criminal activity. It existed underground. Our government administrations has given it a green light and let it loose on the American people. As Americans, how do we protect ourselves? Let's answer that question after this headline with today's News Talk TNT.